Okay, so there's a slight change in the program. We began with Jan Lugolf, and what we'd like to do now is continue with Gotthard Krupp. And Gotthard Krupp is the initiator of Against the War, Against Social War, and he's going to talk now about broader social consequences of the current arms race and military buildup. As I read his CV, I could tell that he was began with a campaign for Wolf Biermann. Any of us who know anything about Germany understand the importance of Wolf Biermann, and how somebody who, like Gotthard Krupp, has devoted his entire life so far to the peace movement. Sometimes you can see strange movements. So Wolf Biermann has now gone completely to the right, whereas Gotthard Krupp has remained, of course, on the left. And I thought what we could do is listen to Gotthard Krupp, and then also continue on after that with Yoshi Tsirit, and then have a general discussion and question and answer with all of you here, with our distinguished guests so far. So, without further ado, Gotthard Krupp, thank you for joining us here.
It's not mine, I think. Dear comrades, thank you to Maria and to the organization to be here, to be invited here. And I know her since 1 year. And we had a lot of discussion, but always per video. And I think it's a good time now to see us and to discuss directly. And I think we make a lot of conferences now. I will explain, and I just want to tell you what kind of liaison committee we want to build up. First of all, I'm not the president of this committee. No, everybody, country, who is part of this committee does his own things and decide what they are doing. There is no central committee who says, we are now making this campaign. It is just, we have contact, we have discussion. We want to set up discussions. And I just want to show you what we did the last year. On July 8 July last year, 1 year ago, we invited, and this was a German coordination who invited us, a conference, online conference against war, against social war. It was a war in Ukraine that was escalating, and the governments escalate each day this war by NATO. And they gave weapons to Ukraine against Russia. And what we said were few points. We said immediately ceasefire and negotiation, no arms deliveries, no to the armament and war budgets, lift the sanction, and we said neither NATO nor Putin, we are not on one side of these governments who are organizing the war. And we know that this was directly connected to the question of social wars, of the rulers against the workers, against the people. And in order to impose the costs to the war, to them, that means we said no war, no to war, no to social war. No to the hundreds of billion war budgets, millions for hospitals, schools, for the cities, for the defense of the real wages. And we decided to unite our struggles across the borders and to strengthen the fight. To this end, we constituted a European Liaison Committee against war, against social war, on the 30th of September. This date is very important. And on this meeting, when we had our first time, when we set up the committee, we decided 2 points. there was a demonstration on the 25th of November, and we said, oh, we want to make an international demonstration. This demonstration was initiated by Sarah Wagenknecht and others, and we wanted to give a simple, it's not only Germany who's fighting against the war, and we asked for a greetings address from all the countries, and we had 20 addresses from several countries, and 11 from them were from these committees, from people who organize the fight in their countries, and they decide how they did it. And there was a second agreement. It was the second year of the beginning of the war of Ukraine, around the 24th of February, and we asked everybody to make action on this day. They should decide in which form, and I was very proud that you made a very great conference on this day against the war of Gaza, against the war of Ukraine, and you had a very important discussion, and we published it also in our documents and sent all these documents in each country. So we have now a praxis, and action took place. For example, also in Germany, we made a demonstration for the Bundeskanzleramt of Scholz, where he rules. We made a small demonstration, and it was very important to say, this is not a demonstration only in Berlin. No, this is a European Action Day. Europe is standing up against this war. The workers and peace fighters are fighting together against this war. But I said to you that we were founded on the 30th of September. And 1 week later, Netanyahu started the genocide against Palestine people. And of course, this was now a new situation. And I know that you in Norway set up a very great campaign against the genocide in Palestine. But the situation in each country, and that we have to learn, is very different. For it took in Germany a bit longer time, and even the peace movement said no to this genocide. And I think this is very important. But it was a discussion which took place, and then we came, and in each country we make a campaign. The groups are making campaigns for withdrawal the Israeli troops, immediately ending of the bombs, lifting the blockade of Gaza, stops the genocide against the Palestinian people, and then very important, stop of all financial support and arms deliveries to Israel. And for example, BSW, the parliamentarian group, now made an Antrag brought in the Bundestag this demand in the Bundestag. And we've demanded immediately ceasefire. On the 4th of February, we were invited to Paris, and it was the first time that the committee, the liaison committee, was discussing in present. Till yet before, we only discussed by video. And this was, of course, very important meeting, and 16 countries were there. We had each country talked about their situation, and we made one decision. And this is an appeal. I don't know if you all know that appeal. I brought some exemplars in English, where I don't know, we don't have now a Norway tradition. And this appeal is very important. Oh, yes, I can talk. Give it. For why? What we did. In this appeal, we combine the question of Ukraine, to say no to the war, to Ukraine, with the struggle against the genocide in Gaza. the struggle against the social war of the governments, against the workers. And we put in one new thing, the struggle of the democratic rights and freedom. For we have in France, and it was just in these days, but also in Germany, a very strong repression against the people who wants to fight against the genocide in Gaza. And that's why we have to defend the freedom of expression, assembly and demonstration, the right to form an organization, trade unions, and the right of strike. And that we put in this question also, and it was a new step. So we put all the questions together for the governments who know that they don't have the majority of the people, ban demonstration in order to fight. They tried to fight against the growing resistance. It means anyone who takes in the street, goes on the street in the favor of peace is demanded as an open right-wing man or close to Putin. And anyone who is saying he is for an immediately ceasefire in Ukraine is discredited as being controlled by Putin. And anyone who calls for the stop to the war in Israel crimes is a part of Hamas or anti-Semitic. And in Germany we have this element of campaign, and it is very strong, and I could bring you a lot of examples. And that's why we have to be very clear also in this question, the democratic right. As you see, 20 countries already signed, people from 20 countries, and it is very different in each country, and it's a signature. We have parliamentarians, but we have also a lot of unionists, we have workers, we have people of the peace movement. For example, in Germany, the most of the leaders of the peace movement signed this appeal, and this is very important, for we have the situation that a lot of organizations are fighting against genocide in Gaza, but they are for the weapons in Ukraine. It's crazy. And we have it also in Germany, and this, you can't understand it for how you can be on the side of war, how you can be on one side of the war. We have the same policy, and that's the problem, that we are all faced with the same policy against Ukraine, against for the organizing the genocide, supporting the genocide in Gaza, but also supporting the war against Russia. And I think we have to show there is only one solution, that is the resistance of the workers and the people to this policy and to the respect governments. That means we want to unite across all the borders the protest, the fight against our government in each country. And this is very important, not declaration of internationalism or something. No, in the center of our work stands our own government. Dear comrades, I think the main problem which we are faced across all the national borders, that trade unionist leaders are integrating themselves into the policy of the government, into the policy of war. And this is the greatest problem. They are submitting to dictate an intensive austerity policy as a result of war, for example, by accepting wage cuts. They are part of the government. But and this is the second point which we are faced, that most of the left-wing parties, which have refers to labor class movement, are also falling away in this fight against the war. There are many differences between the different organizations, but generally they follow the way of the governments in different variations. For example, in Germany, this led to break with the left party, and now we have a new party, it's the party of Sarah Wagenknecht. Maybe there are a lot of problems with this party, but there's three things absolutely clear in her policy. From the beginning on, she was against the war, against weapons to Ukraine, against the sanctions, and this is very important, and against new building up a war budget. And she connected also the question with social justice and democracy. And so many hopes and expectations are associated with these new parties, and the election showed that in the East Germany, but also in West Germany and the workers' towns, she got a lot of votes. And in East Germany, the parties, the votes for the party are much greater than the votes for the coalition of SPD, Greens, and FDP. And it is, of course, a queer situation in half a year setting up such a party. And this shows it's a mass movement who is looking for a new party, who is looking for a new politic outcome. But this resistance, and the forms are different, exist in all countries. And that's the task which we have. We have to bring these movements together. We have to build up, we have to discuss together, we have to learn from each other. So, I think we have, of course, in this coordination, a lot of different positions, traditions, methods, how we organize a fight, and also sometimes different perspectives. Most of us are unionists, but with the problem that the official union is on the other side. But we have to organize us, and I have to learn that the situation, for example, in Serbia, is absolutely different to the situation in Norway. And we have such a political situation in all these countries. But we must work together. We must find the answer together in the future. It's the question of the future of mankind. And that's why we have to work together, and we have to find a way. And to a new situation, before the election, we had in the German committee discussion, what will be the situation after the election? We didn't know what will happen. You could read some things, but we said the government will increase the policy of war. That was the first sentence which we said. That's true. And if I look at the German elections, the results, it is a rejection of the policy of the coalition of SPD, Green and FDP. And this is, of course, a very great factor. And the success of BSV shows people of Germany against the war, against the increase of war, against a policy who brings Germany into a war against Russia. We had to. And nobody in Germany wants a war again. And it is not the right election for the right. No, it's the AfD says no to the war to Ukraine, the right-wing party, but she supports Netanyahu's war in Gaza. So I think the election shows that no one wants to be driven into a war with Russia, and this is the main meaning of the election in Germany. And we have just heard the discussion how the situation is after the election in France. And you see, it's different to Germany. But there's one thing, and when we discussed yesterday, what we have to say, see, if Macron and Le Pen have no success, it's also an answer against the war of Macron, and he makes a praxis of war. Others are talking, but it would reject the war policy of Macron, and he is organizing the war. And that's why we have to defeat Macron and Le Pen, and it is very important to set up the movement. If the compromise, and you showed the compromise which we should support, okay. Let me tell you what the governments did after the election. There was a conference for the reconstruction of Ukraine one day later in Berlin. 2,000 lobbyists were there, and the city was closed. And did they help Ukrainian people? No. They negotiate about the question of the military-industrial complex. They want to build it up in Ukraine. They are asking that it will take on a long time. That means there was a conference in Switzerland for peace, and I will end with it. What they did, what they decided. Russia wasn't there, they couldn't decide. No, they don't want to decide a step toward forward. They want to organize a great union for the war, and that's the main point. And I think, in my point of view, yes, the fear which we set up, it was written before the election, but now we have to make a great campaign about this. And this is a campaign, it's not a question of signatures, how many, it's a question of discussion. That means that we want to organize a discussion European-wide. So things, what we planned, we have in 2 weeks a conference in Belgrade, and as far as I know, a lot of people from the Balkan will come to this conference. It would be very interesting. And we have on the 3rd of October a great demonstration, a real mass rally again, and we want to make up an international mass rally. And on Wednesday, the German coordination decided to set up a Berlin conference, and we can talk about it on the 2nd, 3rd of November. That means the campaign, the fight to build up a power against the government in Europe will go on, and I think it is right to go on in this way. Thank you very much.